Woo! We're live. Let everybody kind of jump on here. I'm excited. Today is a powerful live stream. I'll let you guys be able to jump on here. I'm really excited for everybody who's joined the podcast. Leaders create leaders that are joining the live stream here. What's up, Dean? What's going on? I see you. I see you. What's going on, my people? Thank you for taking some time to join today. We have a really, really powerful guest, guys. I'll let a lot of you gonna join in. Jake Kassan, my man from Movement. What's going on, brother? Good to see you. So proud of what you guys have accomplished over there at Movement. You guys have crushed it. Jessica, what's going on? What's happening? What up? What up? My man Jerad, always showing up at day one, showing up. I appreciate you. What's going on? What's up? What's up? We got Tori. What's happening, everybody? Where's everybody coming in from? Just comment where you're coming in from. Where in the world are my people? What's good, bro? Yo, what's good, bro? If you guys haven't seen, Jake was on Leaders Create Leaders, my YouTube show. Got to tell the story of how they built an unbelievable company, and they just got bought out, their company, by one of the most elite watchmakers in the world. So congratulations on that, Jake. Such an amazing, amazing story. Got Vegas in the house. We got New York in the house. What's good, New York? I miss my New York family, although I'm loving LA right now. The weather is getting hot out here. It feels super good. So as everybody starts to kind of join in, Florida, what's up? What's up? Arizona, I love it. I love it. So we're going to have a really special guest joining us today. So real quick, guys, I want you to drop a comment. What has been, drop a book. What has been a book that has changed your life? Name one book. Here's one that's changed mine. Nothing to Lose, Everything to Gain from Ryan Blair. Got some other ones behind me. I have so many that it's unbelievable how much I have loved starting to read, especially during right now more than ever before. It's become such a passion of mine where I've literally time blocked every day to read. So I got some more here as we wait for our special guest, Tucker Max, New York Times bestseller. I sold over 4.5 million books today. We're going to talk about how everybody on this live stream has an opportunity to write a book in your lifetime, and we're going to talk about that. Some other books to see. We got Outwitting the Devil. We got, what are some other books here? Drop some books, guys. Drop some books. I got some other here. My boy, Dr. Brett, Know Who the Fuck You Are. I got David and Goliath, Malcolm Gladwell. It was such an honor to speak with him at Madison Square Garden. Let's see, what else I got here? I got Stealing Fire, if you guys haven't read that one. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, dope. Traction. Yes, Dean, you got the book Traction. It's a super powerful one for all my entrepreneurs. Let's see. Tucker just got in, so we'll have to dive in with him. Another one here, The Way of the Warrior with Aaron McManus, one of my favorite books. So many dope books, so I love it. So we're going to bring on Tucker right now, guys. Prepare your questions. I'm going to get into just a little bit of his story, a little bit of his methodology, of how he built his company Scribe, and why he believes every single person while they're alive should write at least one book. So we're going to talk about that and how you can do it, right? Some practical steps. So I'm really excited about that. Let's bring him on. Yo, I see Mastery, Robert Greene. Nice. Max Out, Ed Milet. Ed was on my show. Maybe I should get Robert Greene on. And the only Tucker Max. So guys, give him a warm welcome. Drop a comment. Drop a fire emoji. Here he is, my man Tucker. What's up, bro? Good to see you, man. Thank you.
What's up, dude?
What's going on, bro? Good to see you. Good to see you.
You too, man. You too. You're looking good.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's just this weekend. It's been beautiful. It's been like 85 here in LA, so I've been enjoying that, getting in the sun. I finally got my bike out today. Although it was supposed to be quarantine, I just went out and rode my bike. Just getting out in nature to keep the energy moving. How are you doing? How's the family? I know you got 3 kids. I read
3 kids.
I didn't know about you. That's beautiful, man. God bless your family.
Yeah. No, we're the same thing, man. We go out for 2-3 walks a day. Vitamin D, man. Exercise, especially now.
Right.
It's super important. So yeah.
Yeah, I love it. You're in your home now, right? Because it looks like you got like a freaking library behind you, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, this is at my. It's funny, man. On Zoom calls, people are like, "Where'd you buy that Zoom background?" I'm like, "It's my fucking house, man. Like, it's where I live." Yeah,
that's amazing. Yes, I was just asking everybody, what are like some of the books that have inspired them? Tucker, to be honest with you, I'm excited about this live. I'm also really excited for everybody to have a chance to learn more about Scribe, and I know you have a workshop right now that you're offering to the public, and that we're offering to our mastermind, and that you believe like every single person should at once in their life should write a book, that everybody has a book inside of them. And I love that concept. Although for so long, I felt like, that wasn't the case. I don't know. I had this fear, and I'm sure a lot of the people that are here watching have probably had that come up, right? That maybe their story's just not good enough, or the imposter syndrome, or whatever excuse that we just create to not take the time. For me, it could just be the fact of the matter is just like, because it's a lot of hard work, like anything. But yeah, I mean, just kind of like wanted to kick off there. First of all, like, how did you even get into writing 4 New York Times bestsellers? Did you grow up wanting to become a writer in your life? Was this something that you aspired to do, or did it kind of just happen?
No, no, no. I thought writers were bitches when I was younger, and now I am one. Right?
Yeah.
No, man. I went to University of Chicago for undergrad and studied econ, and then went to law school at Duke. So in no way, shape, or form did I think I was going to be a lawyer or a writer. And then I got fired from being a lawyer, and then my dad fired me from the family business. And so, like, I got fired from everything I trained for. And so, the only thing, I was living in South Florida, I hated it. And I was writing funny emails to my friends. And so they're like, dude, you're not good at the things that you trained for. Maybe you should do this. And I'm like, why would I be a writer? They're bitches. And they're like, well, this is what the only thing you're good at. Maybe that's what you are. And so I started writing, and, it did pretty well. It got a lot of traction and blah, 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 blah.
Right.
It's funny. I sent my early stuff to every publisher and agent, every single, like 1,000 of them. Every single one rejected me without exception. Not one
Wow.
wanted it. And then I put my stuff on the internet. And again, this is like '02, dude. This is like when, before MySpace even existed. It kind of blew up, which at the time wasn't much stuff because it was the internet. There were like 30 million people on the internet at the time. And so it took off from there. And then they all came back and like, oh, we should publish your book. And I was like, I was trying to tell you this a few years ago. But then my first book came out in '06. And then I had a big fan base by then. I had been writing for, at that point, 3-4 years online. And so I had been collecting email addresses, and people were waiting for my stuff, and it came out, and it did pretty well. And then it just grew and grew and grew and grew and grew from there. Yeah.
Yeah, wow, that's pretty unbelievable. So, like, I guess I kind of want to get into because for me, I feel like writing a book is so powerful, especially like right now more than ever, because we have the time to kind of go within. Like, I think like one of the most unique things about us is our story. Like we are given 3 unique things in our life. It's like our fingerprint, it's our signature, and it really is the experiences that we go through our entire lives. But being able to decide what to write a book on is like one of the hardest things. I feel like, do you write a business book? Do you write something very specific? Do you end up writing about like your entire life? Just like making a decision on what to write about is actually really difficult. So like, how do you go about choosing, what your first book should be about, and getting out of your own way, so to speak?
Yeah. So it really depends what your objective is. Like, what do you want to accomplish with your book? Right. And so, I mean, there's 3 types of books you can write. You can write a novel. You can write sort of an instructional knowledge share nonfiction, like teaching people how to do something, or you can tell your story. You can write a memoir. And all 3 are perfectly valid. Novels really, I think, are either for people who are professional writers, like that's what they do is write novels, or they're for rich people, or really rich people who are bored, or really poor people whose time is worth nothing, right? Those are the people who write novels. The rest of us write nonfiction books. And so, like, if you have a business and you're trying to promote yourself and you're trying to get clients and stuff, then a knowledge share nonfiction book can work really, really well. Like, teach people what you know, and then they come work with you. It's what we did with Scribe. We wrote a huge book. I got a copy right here. Huge book on how to write your book. It's 500 pages. And, seriously, it's our whole method. You don't need to hire us. It's all in there. But our clients all have a ton of money and not a lot of time, so they want to hire us. And this book is proof that we're experts. They read it and they're like, God, these guys really know what they're talking about. Right. When I say everyone should write a book, not everyone has knowledge to share necessarily, although most people do. Not everyone does. I think everyone should tell their story, right? And the example I always give is that my great-grandmother came over from Europe, from Hungary in the 20s, or right before World War One, so the teens. And she came over, and her and her husband, my great-grandfather, anglicized their names at Ellis Island, moved to LA, and they raised my grandfather as Catholic, and my dad is Catholic. And so we thought we were Catholic. And then I did 23andMe and realized that I was a quarter Jewish, and my dad was half Jewish, and my granddad was full Jew, like 100% Ashkenazi Jew. Both of my great-grandparents were Jewish, and like real Jews, and had never told anybody, ever. And like, of course, they're all dead now, and it's like, what I wouldn't pay to hear that story, right? And they didn't write anything down because, like most people, they probably thought no one cared about their story. It didn't matter. And I would spend a lot of money to be able to hear like who they were and where they came from. And and I think everyone has a story. Everyone came from somewhere. Everyone has something to contribute to the world. Everyone has something to share, even if it's not knowledge, even if it's just, hey, here's my experience and here's what I thought about it. Even if it's just authenticity and vulnerability and honesty. You don't have to know anything to be honest and authentic and vulnerable. And those are the best stories. And that's why I think everyone has a book on it.
Yeah. You know, one of the things you just mentioned that I think is so powerful that, you know, I just want everybody to make sure they hear is like, it's like leaving it behind, you know, like, yes, you can build it and it definitely can help you in your career and in business. And I want to talk more about that because making that decision is also kind of something that I'm curious about with Amazon today and kind of going the publishing route. But regardless of what it can do to help you as a brand and in your business, the fact that is like just leaving it behind for your grandkids, your kids, like having it be part of your legacy is something that I think is really interesting. And it's something that I think about all the time, you know, because we're not guaranteed tomorrow. We're you know, we have a short life while we're here, and we're all born to make an impact, you know, one way or another, through our family, to the community, to the world. Like we all have that calling to contribute to a better world and to make an impact. And what better way than to kind of take your perspective, your experiences in life, and really just write and do it and be imperfect. You know, like I think that's the hardest part is, you know, I think is the fear of, you know, it being done right. You know what I mean? Like, like I know I held myself back because, you know, you think about you're a 4-time New York Times best-selling author, Tucker. So it's like, sometimes that could be intimidating when you want to write your first book, especially if you're trying to brand yourself. Sometimes that intimidation of like, or in that fear of failure more than anything of like, oh God, am I not going to hit that list? It causes you to kind of push it off, instead of just saying, you know what, it's not about me, and maybe just like letting it go and that's it, you know? But so what are your thoughts on that? Like getting out of your own way, getting out of that fear of failure to get it out?
Well, I mean, the first question is, why are you writing the book, right? If you're writing it to hit a bestseller list, and that's just an ego reason. And I notice I didn't say you should write a book to impress people. I never once said that. That's not on the list of reasons. And so if you're worried about what list you're going to hit, then that's your ego talking. That's narcissism.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and so like, if you want to, we try and for the most part, turn those clients down. We have a lot of people, you probably, in fact, I know, you know, a couple of them who come in with gobs of money and who are like, you know, here's big 6-figure checks, go make me a star or go make my book a bestseller. And I'm like, no, we don't do that. Like, there are people who'll do that. That's fine. And if someone wants to do that for a job, more power to them. But I have no interest in that, right? Like, what I have an interest in is people who want to tell their story. They want to uncover their truth. They want to share their truth with the world for a minimum to help themselves and their family. And then if other people can take benefit from it, which almost always they can, then that's almost like a bonus, right? Like the way I tell people to think about it is, your pain can be someone else's map, right? Like what you're going through and what you've been through, and you've survived, someone else has not been through that yet. And they're going into it and they don't know how they're going to make it through. Right. And so if you can write about that part of your life honestly and authentically and in a real way, then you can really, really help people, and you can really help yourself, and you can help the world. But if you go at a book looking like, well, how am I going to look fancy and important? That's fucking bullshit, man. I mean,
Yeah.
like, you're just a monkey looking for status then. You're not really trying to make yourself or anyone else better.
Yeah.
And,
No,
and
I agree.
I don't mean, I'm not criticizing you, because I fall in the same traps. The same sort of how do I look good traps, you know? I fall in the same thing, dude.
Well,
We
I
all
think it's
do.
less
We all
about like
fall in those
looking
traps.
good. I think it's less about looking good, and it's more of like, I think a lot of people, like I said, I think fear failing. Like if you don't get it out this rate, you feel like, oh man, it just didn't get and reach the amount of lives that you wanted to reach.
No, but that's my point.
Like competitiveness, right? Like, oh, you wanted to reach as many people as possible, right?
That's narcissism. That's not about the other people. When you make it about number of people, that has nothing to do with impact. That is 100% about your ego. It just is. I'm not saying that to criticize you, because God knows I have fallen into these traps. Probably worse than you have, dude. Like oh God, I used to be the worst at this, man. Everything was competition, was how many people, how big am I, all that nonsense. I totally was in the, and that is just a bottomless pit of narcissism. That's all it is. And like, if that's why you're writing a book, it's almost certainly not going to be a good book. And even if it is, and you can't, there are people who, deep narcissists, who can sometimes write great books. It's rare, but it can happen. Even if you write a great book and it sells millions of copies, you'll be upset it didn't sell tens of millions of copies. It won't fill the hole in your soul, dude, no matter how good it does.
Yeah.
If so that's why you're writing it.
So it's almost like you kind of like you almost got to say to yourself, it's not about how many people it reaches. It's just a matter of it getting out there, and the right people end up, and the right people that will get it, that it's supposed to impact, it will impact, but like not worrying about kind of where the book will go or how it'll be, like how many people. Because it's like, for instance, Jim Quick launches his book tomorrow, and I was helping him today to promote his book. And one of the things he said, and I didn't think that this was narcissism, but what he says when he's promoting his book is, I want this to be the most read book and get this to the world. And like this year. And I'm like, you know, I kind of respected it, because I feel like he genuinely believes in his message and genuinely believes that it will help people. So he has a desire to have it be the most read book of the year. So do you believe that's narcissism?
Yeah. I mean, I know Jim. That's ego. Yeah, it is. I would say it to Jim's face. I know Jim real well. No, seriously, I would. You could bring him on the live chat, and I'll say the same thing. I mean, I'm not being critical of him, man. It just is, right? Like that is what it is. Like,
right.
I'll tell you what I've learned in my experience, man. Everyone who says they want to change the world is saying that and focusing on that so they don't have to deal with their own issues, right? The only way you can change the world is first to change yourself, right? And then you can talk about your realizations and the work you've done and your change, and maybe that can help others, right? And if it can, awesome. That's great. And the people who are good at doing their work and about sharing it do end up helping a lot of people. And I'm not saying Jim hasn't helped people. Of course he's helped people. But most people who say, oh, I'm going to save the world, they're focused externally because they don't want to deal with their own bullshit. Right? And that's why they do it. And I'm saying this is a dude who's very similar. I mean, like, I'm not excluding myself from any of this, you know, like we're humans.
No, I agree with you. I think that's what I feel, you know, and again, I haven't written a book, but I do know that even just for me being a storyteller through my own, I look at storytelling, I talk about this as a modality of healing. And it is, you know, it's been healing for me because I haven't owned, for many years, I didn't own my story. And through starting to kind of speak truth about the shit that I've really gone through, it has helped me to heal. So I feel like writing a book is almost in a way could be selfish. It could actually be the opposite, because you can actually, it can actually be healing because you're letting go and as you're writing your
What's selfish about healing though?
Exactly.
It is healing. You're right. I don't think, okay, sorry, you're wrong. It is selfish, but it is selfish in a good way. Like
exactly.
The word selfish has such a negative connotation.
Right,
Even I instinctually thought, well, hold on, there's nothing wrong with healing and being selfish in a way, holding appropriate boundaries, taking care of yourself first, using story to heal yourself is amazing, right? Absolutely, totally in agreement. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I just feel like yeah, it's been something I've looked at as a modality that's like healed myself, but I agree with you. You got to start with you before you can help others. Cool. So like, what do you recommend for someone that is actually ready to start? You know, someone who's watching this and it's like, they feel ready to write that book, to be selfish, to finally take their story and start putting it pen to paper. You know, how do you actually, what are the first few things that you should really do to, and then how do you stay committed to the process?
Yeah, so these are great questions. So that's literally what we teach. That's why we teach it for free,
Yeah.
because I think these are super important questions and they're very intimidating for a lot of people. But the first thing that I would really do, if we're talking about a memoir, like you want to tell your story, the
Okay.
first thing I would do, all right, the easiest, lowest hanging fruit, I'll give you the algorithm that we teach, like the process. And it's dead simple, Gerard. Yeah, most of the people listening might not even believe that it's this simple or that it works, but it's the
Yeah.
exact process I use to write 4 New York Times bestsellers. So you ask yourself, what happened that mattered? How did I feel about it?
Mm.
And then you just keep repeating, what happened? How did I feel? What happened next? How did I feel? What happened next? How did I feel? Now, obviously, like, there's a lot of subtleties. You don't have to write about every single thing. Like, I don't remember what I had for lunch 4 days ago, so I don't need to I don't have a feeling about it, right? Like, what happened that mattered, right? And then you can put in a few other things like lessons you've learned from that or realizations you had, but don't make them up. Like, that's sort of an optional lessons learned, realizations had, and just slide those in where they exist, knowing that there's plenty of times where you're not going to have any. Um, but yeah, dude, it really is as simple as what happened and how did I feel? Not what did I think, how did
Right.
I feel? You can talk about what you thought, but how did you feel is the most important thing, because that is that here's the thing people don't realize. This is why anyone will ever read your memoir. No one will ever, and this is for you, for me, for anybody. No one will read your memoir to learn about you. They don't care. They're going to read your memoir to learn about themselves.
Woo! Wow, that's
No,
fire.
seriously. And so like if what you do is talk about what happened and how you felt, that helps people map your experiences onto theirs and explore their own experiences from a new way and a new perspective, right? And so like if you were to write some story about breaking up with a girlfriend and then I had a similar series of incidents and then you really explored how you felt, I'd be like, I'm mapping it to mine and thinking, oh, I didn't feel that, or fuck, I felt that, or shit, I was feeling that, I had no idea. And then I'm going to be like, man, Gerard taught me so much about myself, even though you didn't say one shit fucking thing about me, right? It's all about you and your life. But dude,
Right.
every day I have people coming up to me. Just yesterday, we went on a long walk, and this guy came up almost in tears, like, thank you so much. You've helped me so much. Your story is this, your story is that. I have no idea who this dude is, right?
Right.
And
Right.
I'm
Right.
not saying anything bad about him. It's just he doesn't know me at all. He knows my stories, and my
Yeah.
stories were open and authentic and honest in a way that connected with him. So in his mind, he feels deeply connected to me and knows me. But I mean, like, of course, there's parts of me and my story he knows, but like, he had this deep emotional experience with me that had nothing to do with me, but it
Yeah.
was meaningful for him because my vulnerability and honesty and authenticity allowed him to explore his, so that's what you're trying to do. Just like, and what happened in my experience, that's the little part that doesn't matter that much.
Yeah.
Well, how you felt about it is what really mattered.
Yeah.
You could say like but that's the part where no one wants to go deep in their emotions, man. No one
Yeah.
wants to. That's why most memoirs are terrible, because no one wants to tell the truth, right,
Yeah.
about
Everyone wants to like
themselves.
look like the expert or look like that authority, but they're not willing to go deep and really talk about the shit, the things that really, that they're scared, that are
The
deep
things
into
that
their
everyone
subconscious
feels that no
unspoken.
one wants to talk about.
Right. Yeah. Your
Like
books
no
do
one
great
wants
at
to.
that, man. And I think that's why you've hit that list, bro. Like 4 times. I mean, it's 4.5 million books. I mean, you talk about. I remember you're like, when I first grabbed one of your books, I was like you were saying shit that nobody would talk about. It was pretty unbelievable.
Dude, it's why, like, I think you mentioned, or someone did, David Goggins, why his book did so well, right? I mean, my company did his. Because, dude, I mean, you read those first 3 chapters of his book are almost like,
oh my God,
you almost can't read them. They're oh God, they're brutal. But fuck, who's that honest about? My God, man. And it was like stomach churning.
His dad, I was like, wow, he really put it out there with his dad.
Dude, seriously. And then, like, I've gotten to know David pretty well. Like, there's a lot of other stuff too he didn't talk about. Like, he talked about a lot, but there was other stuff. Not necessarily worse, just different, right?
Yeah.
Like he didn't talk about. I mean, he's been married like 3 times. He didn't talk about that stuff, or his daughter, or like he's got a lot of other issues that he's gonna put in future books. Like, he's not done, right? Yeah. So like, yeah, dude, it's like, why do people stop and rubberneck at train wrecks, right, or car wrecks? Same reason people will read a memoir that's really open and honest and vulnerable. Because they want to see the raw, real truth, and most of society hides that from themselves.
It reminds me of even like when we used to, like, I remember like my generation, like our generation, you know, when reality TV kind of came out, it like blew up, and it was because like all of a sudden you got to see and it's obviously all written and fake now, but it was like that essence of like you kind of saw the kind of some of the real shit. So I feel you. Like when I write my first book, I'm gonna go deep, and I'm glad I waited until I really felt, you know, like it wasn't again an ego. Like I just want to write a book to write a book. It's like I feel really called to write a book, and it's for me, and it's something that I genuinely want to do, and I'm excited to do that. But the other part that I guess I fear is the consistency aspect, right? Like it seems like something that it takes. People told me that it's taken them 5 years to write a book. I mean, you know, so like
you
can, right? But I know you've helped people get books out in like 4 months, 6 months. So it's like, what's the trick there to get something out? And do you even recommend it? Like it should take however long you want.
I mean, the trick's simple, man. How bad do you want it?
Yeah.
Like anything. I mean, you're successful in life, man. You can't tell me I don't know how to get things done. Shut up, dude. Like you do. Yeah. Like, no, it reminds me of like, man, I forget the guy who told me the story, but basically like, there's no such thing as not enough time. There's only priorities. Yep. Right. Yep. And so like I have time for my priorities. Like I will never tell my son, I don't have enough time for you. Like if my son ran in here right now and needed me, I'd hang the fuck up on you so fast. Yeah. No offense, right? Yeah. But like he's a priority to me, right? And so like he's asleep right now. But like the point is like if it's a priority to you, you will make time for it. And like look, in our course, we really walk through. There's a lot of tricks you can use. You know, like basic things. Block out time every day, half an hour to an hour a day. Block it out on your calendar, like literally make it a thing, an appointment on your calendar. Yeah. And then like we always like we take people through a whole process, like decide where you're gonna sit, decide your word quota, decide all these sort of things, and so it makes it a lot easier, right? But man, dude, I can have 50 hacks, and if you're not actually committed to uncovering your truth and sharing it for the world, and if you haven't done your work around that, none of those hacks matter.
Yeah, I love that. I'm going to take some questions, Tucker. We got a lot of questions that have come through. One person, let's see here. Rena asked, can we speak about how making money profits work with writing a book? So what about like the money aspect, right? What if you actually want to use it for business, for your company, for your brand? You know, what are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, so you can the main mistake people make with making money on books is they think that they want to make money on selling books, right? Which is really, it's not impossible. Like I'm the asshole who sold millions of books. I'm gonna sit here and tell you it's really hard to make money selling books. It is actually. The almost always the better way is to use the book as a tool to promote you or your business or whatever it is you're doing. And you make money in other ways. We've had, man, I can't tell you, we've had hundreds of clients who have sold, 500, 1,000, 2,000 books, which is decent for like a nonfiction book. And and they'll make, you know, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. That happens all the time because they have consultancies or companies or whatever, and the book is the thing that gets them meetings, gets them clients, you know, is lead gen, is whatever, generates. I mean, I can't tell you how many clients who've been like, oh, this thing added a couple million to my bottom line and this and that, and happens all the time. So if you look at a book as a marketing tool for you or your business, it's really easy. Because what marketing tool is high status and you can make money on as well? Like, you can actually sell copies. Like, none. I can't think of any other marketing that does that. And so it's kind of this weird, special, unique thing. That's the best way I like to frame making money from books, is instead of selling copies, how do I use the book to make me money and other things?
Yeah, I love that. I really feel that that's what I've seen really genuinely work. And it's like not really trying to make money from the book itself, but how can that start to drive awareness around your company, your business? I'm sure David Goggins, his speaking fees have probably gone through the roof, and
his speaking fees went from 30 to 75,000. I think they're actually maybe higher now.
Wow, unbelievable.
Yeah.
So Nick asked, what is the book publishing process? And I think this was I touched on this earlier. Like, people always wonder, like, do you go the self-publishing route? Do you go a publishing route? What are your thoughts on the book publishing?
I mean, that's such a long answer. Basically, you're not going to get a traditional deal unless you have an audience of people waiting to buy your book. Now, and don't tell me it's a great idea if I can only get on Rogan, millions of people, but no, shut the fuck up. Unless you have at least 10 to 20,000 people, unless you can convince a publisher, there are 10,000 people waiting right now with their credit cards to buy your book because they know your name. So, like, you might be able, someone like you with big email list, whatever, like celebrities, things like that. Those are the only people who get deals. Because the thing with traditional publishers, they don't do any marketing. They don't do any of that work at all. They are using you to make money, which is funny because if you can sell 10, 20,000 books, you don't need them and shouldn't go to them, actually. So, but for everyone else, some form of self-publishing is the way to go. Some form of self-publishing is the way you need to go. Whether you're doing it yourself or you're using a company like mine, which is far more professional and way more expensive. There's multiple ways, but for 99, probably everyone listening, self-publishing is either the better route or the only route. There's very few people that should be doing traditional.
Interesting. So let's see. Lena asked, if you're writing an autobiography, do you recommend reading books that can influence your style, or should you just, and I'm guessing she's saying, like, should you just kind of flow and let your own style kind of come out?
Yeah. So maybe not. Like, I'm always on the fence about this. One of the best ways to develop your writing voice and your style is to try and imitate other writers, because what'll happen is you'll do a really bad job. Right. And that's cool. So but by doing a bad job, you'll develop your own voice. Right. And so when I started off, I tried to imitate Chuck Palahniuk. I know you know the movie Fight Club, but the book is amazing. That book and this other writer named P.J. O'Rourke, I imitated them a lot, and I was a terrible version of both of them. But then I kept writing, and I eventually developed a style and a voice that was totally my own. So if you want to read other people to try and imitate them at the beginning as a way to find your own voice, that's okay. But I will tell you, a lot of people, in my experience, people who spend too much time reading other people get stuck, and they're like, oh, I can never do this, or they get stuck in this loop. If you want to create, your best thing to do is go create.
I love it. Dean, he's one of my clients. He just asked is it possible to have someone who's a copywriter that will ask you a series of questions to then write your book for you? Or is the best route to take it your own, is the best route to take if you're not a decent writer? I think that's what you guys do at Scribe.
Yeah,
right?
That's what we do, right? So except I would not recommend using a copywriter. Do not use a copywriter to write your book. Copywriter is a very specific type of writer. I would use like a ghostwriter, or we call them scribes, but same difference. That's exactly what my company does. So yeah, we do that. But it's totally possible. it totally depends on what you want, man. Some people really like having their hands on the keyboard. Other people are very insecure about writing or just don't have the time or don't want to do it. Both methods can work really well. It just depends. Depends on what you want.
I love it. Well, Tucker, I really appreciate you taking some time away from your family and from the business. And I'm also very excited about our entire mastermind being able to join tomorrow. So everyone who's part of Leaders Get Leaders is able to come onto your workshop. 2 days. If you could just tell us a little bit about the workshop tomorrow, just for everybody who is watching this and will we watch this over the next 24 hours.
Yeah, so if you go to scribebookschool.com, you can sign up. Basically, I'm going to teach my entire, like the process that we use, that what we wrote the book about, the process that we've used with 1,600 clients, including David Goggins and Tiffany Haddish. We're going to teach the whole process, like with our templates and everything. I'm going to walk you through, like, answering the question, should you even write a book? What kind of book should you write? How to know you're writing the right book, how to know that that an audience is going to want to read it, how to make sure that you're going to get what you want out of the book, how to structure your book properly, how to outline it, all the writing tricks and tips, like everything. So it's 2 days, 5 hours a day. It's no joke. It's a really serious, right? It's our whole process. We're going to teach the whole thing.
Days. Yeah, it's pretty powerful. So I'm excited. Everybody, if you're interested, again, you can go to, one more time, the Tucker, the link is scribebookschool.com.
Scribebookschool.com.
Sweet. Well, Tucker, thank you so much for taking some time. I'm committed to writing my first book, and you've been such an inspiration to me, and I look forward to working with Scribe. I'll see you tomorrow for the workshop with our.
You're gonna be on?
I'll jump on.
Excellent. Cool. See you there, man.
Yeah, so thanks, Tucker. Have a great night, bro. Talk
Definitely.
To you soon.
You too, man. Talk to you later.
Cool. Later. All right, guys. So I appreciate Tucker taking some time jumping on with us. Hopefully that inspired you. I think the number one takeaway for me was that every single one of us has a unique story, and it's not about necessarily writing a book for anyone else. Sometimes you can just be selfish and write that book for yourself. And it's something that you can pass down to your kids or to your grandkids or to your ancestors. And I just think that that's really, really powerful. I wish I got to read a book from my grandfather or my great-grandmother. I never got that opportunity. Luckily, I was able to kind of go and interview my grandfather when he turned 100 years old last year. I put it on YouTube. If you guys haven't gone to my YouTube channel, you can see that interview, and I learned so much from just spending quality time. But I definitely want to be that person in my family that writes a book and can pass it down to my family. And I think I think storytelling is such a powerful modality to heal yourself. And then through your mess, through your pain, getting really deep, like Tucker talked about, you're able to heal so many others in the world that can relate to your story. So I appreciate you guys jumping on. I realize that typically when I do these live streams midday, we're able to get a lot more people on, which is interesting. But I appreciate every single one of you that took time tonight to dive in with Tucker. Definitely join tomorrow if you can. I shared it with my mastermind, but you can go to here. What you can do if you're interested in joining, just comment on my last post. I'll direct you. But I appreciate you guys. Crush your week. It's Monday. New week, new goals. Let's own it. And it's your boy GA. So I'll talk to you guys soon. And let me know if I should write that first Leaders Create Leaders book. Peace.